Here's another set of guns. Am I allowed to say guns on YouTube? Alright, we're back with another review, this time looking at the Medicom Toys Mafex Punisher comic book version. Let's get into it. Alright, this guy just released last week in Japan. Came to my door yesterday, costed me about 160 Canadian dollars to the door. That's about 113 USD, so pretty standard for Mafex pricing right now. Here's a close-up of the figure, and I think it looks great. I do think maybe he does have a little bit too much muscle. I don't really remember Punisher in the comic books being this much larger than like Spider-Man and Daredevil and so on. We'll take a look at some comparisons later, but I do believe that this is a new sculpt here. Like, it's not the typical Batman or Superman sculpt. It does look different. Maybe it's just the shoulders that look a little bit too bulky. I guess if I push them in like that, it looks a little bit better. But yeah, really nice figure though, overall. Some sculpt work in the gloves there. The belt is rubber and floaty. You get the sculpt work in the boots there so that it doesn't look too flat, but I do also have some paint imperfections on my boot. I'm just wondering if it's the color that they chose for him. It's like a matte, almost like a gray, like an off-white, but a grayish color, and maybe it just doesn't do well on this type of plastic, but you can see just like imperfections kind of all over my figure here. This holster looks pretty bad. There's just like black plastic painted in there. I don't know why they chose to do that. They should have just kind of left it empty there, or at least like clean up this hole, like drill it out a little bit so that light can pass through, or maybe make it out of a different material, but kind of looks a little bit cheap to me. Here's a close-up of the head sculpt. I initially thought when I saw the promo images that the outline of the eye was a little bit too dark. It almost looked like he was wearing some eyeliner, but when I'm looking at it in hand, it actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it did. The hair is sculpted really nice. Nice slick back look. I would like to see a little bit of highlight in there just to bring out some of that texture, because the texture is really, really nice there, but no highlight to bring it out. Nice sculpted wrinkles in his forehead. Here's a look at the boot knife holster there. Here comes Mafex again with their janky torsos. I wish that there would be a way to fix that. Almost all of my Mafex is kind of like lean one side like that. I don't know. Outside of the paint QC issues that I don't really have any other issues with this figure. My figure moves really well out of the package. There's no stiff joints or anything like that, so I'm quite happy with that. I do find that I was playing with the hands, and when I was trying to swap to other hands, it was extremely tight to try to put that peg into the new set of hands. Even though they come with those little peg trees, they still didn't really work out so well, so just be careful with that. Mafex holds it down with articulation, so let's get into it. Looking up this much, we can look down. We can rotate side to side. Can also bend side to side. It's the standard Mafex double ball peg that has a bit of a kink in it, so it can get more range of motion depending on which way you place it. I find though that they never really stay straight. Like mine out of the package, I always have a difficult time trying to adjust these things, but whatever, they do the job. The arms can go up all the way around. They can go out to the side this much. You can pull the shoulders out for extra range of motion when you come across the body. With the shoulders fully protracted, you can get about this much range of motion. There's a bicep swivel. You get double jointed elbows. Standard Mafex wrist pegs that go up and down, and then you would just turn them to go in and out. We have an upper and lower dumbbell. It can crunch forward this much. We can go back about this much, but it exposes a gap in the chest there. If you leave Punisher in a crouched position for too long, the belt will start to take that shape, so you might just need a little bit of heat to bring that back. You can rotate and crunch. You can rotate side to side and side to side. Oh my gosh, so this is the first time, I've never really disassembled my figures before from Mafex, but this is the first time that I'm actually seeing grease on the pegs. Like, is this new? That's a lot of grease too. Like, you can't really get the inside of that, but that ball joint is covered in grease. I guess that's, I don't know. Maybe it is new from Mafex, but yeah, it's, if they're greasing their torso joints, then it's going to prevent snapping of those pegs. That's great. The leg joints can pull down and come up about that high. You can see where the cut is for the rotation. With the drop down, you can come out to the side about this much. There's a double jointed knee. No rotation at the boot, but the ankle can go forward and back, and it can also come inward and outward, and there is rotation at the ankle as well. There is toe articulation as well. So when it comes to Mafex figures, we already really know what we're getting when it comes to articulation. Like, you should be able to get him into some really good poses, not too much restriction, the belt being really the only restriction, but yeah, you can get down pretty low. Okay, so let's get into some of the accessories. First up, only one additional head sculpt, and it is a smirking face. It looks good. You can see the nice line sculpts in there, but too similar to the stoic face that we get already. I would like to see a yelling head sculpt or something like that, more grimace, more anger, and so on. It is the Punisher, by the way, so it's a nice head sculpt, but no changes to the hair, no changes to like the eyes, really just changes to the mouth. Including the hands that are already on the figure, we get 6 pairs of hands, so you have your fisted hands, you get a pair of trigger fingers, another pair of trigger fingers, but this time with wider grip, a pair of gripping hands, a pair of relaxed hands, and a pair of wide open palm hands. I do want to bring attention to the detail that's on these gloves. You can see kind of like where the stitching line would be on the thumb and along the side of the glove where the fingers is. That's a really nice detail there that they didn't really have to include, but they did. You can also see some line work in there as well to make it look like an actual pair of hands inside some gloves. That's awesome. We get 3 holsters, so we have an empty holster with the button closed. We have an empty holster with the button open, and they did not include paint in there, so they painted black there, but they didn't paint black in here to make it look like it's empty. I'm not really sure what happened there. Then you get the button closed with the butt of a gun in there as well. Be careful when removing the holsters. Just pry that loose. It's like a T-peg there that fits in. So when you're swapping, just line that up. And use your thumb to squish it in. It holds well. Not really going to come off unless you really kind of work it like I just did there. We have a boot knife. It's got a gray handle with a silver tip there, and it goes into this slot. Now, if you don't push this in all the way, it will fall out. Okay, so make sure that when you're putting this in, you add a little bit of force there, and then that will stay in there. Of course, it wouldn't be the Punisher if it didn't come with a bunch of guns. So here's the first set of guns. I believe these are 1911s. And they came out really nice. They're fairly basic though. There's no slide movement. There's no magazine that can be removed. And there's no holes in the muzzle, which is pretty crappy because a lot of figures come with effect pieces, like muzzle effects, and you can't do that because these don't have holes in them. Here's another set of guns. Am I allowed to say guns on YouTube? They look like another pair of 1911s, but this time they have a much larger slide there. I'm not really sure what these are. I didn't do my research, but I'm assuming maybe these are non-lethal rounds. I don't really know. You get a revolver that has a sight on it. There is no working parts on this. You get a very basic black submachine gun here. No removable magazine and no other parts that move on it. So the regular pistols fit nicely in the hands. You just got to use the more narrow grip trigger fingers, and then he can start blasting. Okay, so we do have much smaller guns with him. I would have liked to see much larger guns come with the Punisher, so I have some Valaverse Action Force figure guns here, so I just want to take a look to see if these work or not, so we can start with this Scar Rifle. I'm just using the narrow grip trigger fingers here, and he seems to be able to hold that with no issue, and you can also use the narrow grip trigger fingers to hang on to the grip at the front there. So yep, you can get the Valaverse guns working with that. That looks pretty good. Here's a large sniper rifle from Valaverse, and that looks really good there. Yeah. We're also getting the standard Mafex flight stands, and before we only used to get like this, and then this piece here, but now we get extra crotch cradles there, and also a solid bar, so they've been doing that with the most recent Mafex figures, and it's a good change for them. So let's get into some comparisons. Here he is next to a Marvel Legends Punisher. Here he is next to a Mafex Daredevil. Next to Marvel Legends Daredevil. Here's a Mezco Daredevil. Next to Mafex Spider-Man. Here's some policemen from the G.I. Joe line. Next is some Valaverse Action Force figures. And if you're trying to goon, here's some Marvel Legends goons, the Tracksuit Mafia. So I haven't looked at anyone else's reviews. This is just my own personal opinion. So I'm pretty happy with the way that this figure came out. I think it looks pretty good. I do think he's a little bit bulky. Some of the design choices are questionable. I don't really like this holster. Mine's starting to fall off repeatedly though. My figure didn't come with any tight joints or anything like that. Some of the paint is a bit of a problem, paint on the glove, and then I have some glue splotches. So some generic QC stuff there is pretty bad. But all in all, I do really like this figure, and I do recommend it if you're collecting the Mafex line. So let me know in the comments what you think. Did you pick this guy up? I forgot I even had it on pre-order, but I'm happy that it came in. I'm happy to review it, and I'm happy to add it to my collection. If you found this review helpful, hit that thumbs up and subscribe button. Head on over to plastic.life on Instagram for more action figure pics. And always remember, it's your collection. Buy whatever makes you happy. Hope you check out my next videos. Take care.